All right, welcome in. Musso at the box. A little live edition here. Home studio action here, and a massive Tiger victory tonight. 16-4 over Rice. Not quite sure why there wasn't a run rule. I can tell you that there should have been. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. It's going to happen, unfortunately, here as we figure this out. Obviously, the story though, is Kade Anderson for sure. I mean, he was awesome for LSU. Just you wanted to see 5 innings pitched, 3 runs, all of them earned. We're going to get to that third inning where he was just, I mean, completely hung out to dry by his defense. That was really unfortunate to see. But just the 3 unearned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Something we talked about in the preview, right? Is you're looking for him to obviously be more in control of himself now that it's not. Now that it's not like his first start. He's back out there. He's had uh, you know a, he's gotten his feet wet. I should say in college baseball, and I've told y'all from the times I saw him in the scrimmages, he's a strike thrower. That is what Kade Anderson is. He walked a combined 3 in 3 of the starts I saw him have in the scrimmages, and then obviously walked 3 in his first start tonight, got that down to 1 and punched out 7. So even increased the strikeout total. Loved getting to see him extend more in this ball game. Obviously, getting through 5 innings. I don't have his exact pitch count. Forgive me. Rice's broadcast was horrible, and they just kept a running tally of pitches all night long. And if I'm being quite honest, I don't even think that was accurate. So, look, you're on the road at an American team. Their broadcast is not going to be as good as LSU's, obviously. But I digress. Let's go through the ball game a little bit here, and as we normally will on a recap. Identical first inning for each pitcher, just about. I mean, you had a guy get on. For LSU, it was Milam with a single, and then Tommy White hits into a 6-4-3 double play. In the bottom half, it's Kite McDonald for Rice with a bunt single, and then Gallo hits into a 4-6-3 double play in that one. And you're like, all right, well, maybe this is going to settle in. Remember, we talked about it. LSU had a great offensive night. I'm going to get deeper into the numbers, and it was perfect what you wanted to see, quite honestly, from them, given the fact that, I mean, we're kind of nitpicking a little bit in a sense with some of the stuff we've seen from LSU's offense. Overall, in the macro, their numbers have been very good. In the micro, you can look at certain situations like the Friday Stony Brook game, like the Saturday Northern Illinois game, like the first game against Central Arkansas. It's they've gotten away from their plan. We'll just use Jay Johnson's words, but they've always kind of bounced back. Tonight was a great night, and it got started for them in the second inning. And again, I know it doesn't show when you look at their final line. You got 16 runs on 11 hits and whatnot, but that's a pretty good pitching staff they did it against. Rice had, yes, they were 3-4 coming into tonight, but they had gotten those 3 wins. They had made it through the first 7 games on the back of their pitching staff, which had a team array of about 3.5, and it wasn't against slouches. I mean, they opened up the season against Notre Dame. There was a program in the College World Series a couple years ago and is still solid. Then they faced ULL. I don't really have to tell anyone listening to this right now, by the virtue of you being an LSU baseball fan, you know how good ULL's program is, and they regularly field a very good team. You go through those. Sam Houston State, we know what that lineup was last year. It was, and LSU faced them and then saw them again in the regional. That's a tournament team. So it was a decent schedule that they were doing that against. So for LSU to have the type of offensive night they had, I take that as a really good positive, if I'm being quite honest. Okay, it got started in the second inning. The theme of the night for LSU was 2-out production. LSU, of their 16 runs tonight, 13 of LSU's 16 runs scored with 2 outs tonight. You talk about the sign of a great offensive night, that's a big sign of a great offensive night. So Pearson leads off that second with a walk after a ground out by Travinski. Neal draws a walk, and then Jones has the RBI single. He's ultimately picked off, but that allowed the 2-out runs to start coming home. Bingham's hit by a pitch. Braswell walks, and then Kling comes up with a big 2 RBI single on the first pitch that he saw. Milam would fly out to end that inning, but ultimately you get 3 runs on the 2 hits, and you're out to an early lead. One of the hallmarks of that inning, where we kind of mentioned earlier here, LSU getting away from their plan, right? That's what Jay Johnson kept saying, and he was really frustrated with the first pitch outs or just early outs in the count. You look at that second inning. In that second inning, LSU they sent let me count it up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They sent 8 guys to the plate. Of those 8 guys, 6 of them at least saw a 2-2 count. 4 of them had a full count. That is for sure to put a smile on Jay Johnson's face every single time. That's what you want. It got the pitch count up. That was still against Robert Fernandez on the mound at that point for Rice. Fantastic. You come back in the bottom half, and it's just complete nails from Kade Anderson. And that's another thing that we had talked about a little bit when looking at him. It was in the scrimmages, whether it was heading into his first start, whether it was after his first start. The second inning had kind of been a bit of an issue for him, kind of in that. To see him dominate, 3 up, 3 down. Well, not sorry, not 3 up, 3 down. You had a walk mixed in there to Jack Rydell, but he struck out the side in there, and 2 out of the 3 strikeouts came on 3 pitches. That's freaking awesome. Like, when your team goes out there, they spot you 3 runs, you come back. Not only do you hang a 0, you do it in dominant fashion. That's exactly what you want to see from Kade Anderson. And then the floodgates opened for LSU in the top of the 3rd inning. Rice brought in Jack Melvin. My apologies. We did not view Jack Melvin on this. I looked him up because when I was going through like fall report or spring reports on Rice, his name kept popping up. There was an interview or media availability, I should say, with the catcher Manny Garza, who played tonight. He was really raving about Melvin. He's a freshman arm, big arm, supposed to be in the mid-90s. So, I mean, I knew about him, but he hadn't pitched. Like, I was like, oh, they're talking about him like he's, this stellar freshman. He hadn't pitched it all this season. Didn't kind of really expect to see him tonight. But he goes out there and looked like he was going to get off to a great start. He gets White to fly out, Pearson to pop out to the 3rd baseman. He hits Travinsky, and then Brady Neal leaves the yard for the first time. And it was an absolute piss rod, no doubt about it, to right center field from Brady Neal. First of 2 home runs for the LSU catcher. Just a great night all around for Neal. One that he really needed after a bit of a rougher weekend, the second go-round, especially after he was phenomenal in opening weekend. It's going to take a little bit of time for Brady Neal, I think, but I want so badly, and it's not a slight to Alex Milazzo. Al is a great Tiger. He's a big part of this team from a leadership standpoint and from a production standpoint. He's very good behind the plate as well. Not a slight to Hayden Travinsky either. We know what Hayden is. I want so badly, though, so badly for Brady Neal to really take hold of this catcher job for LSU this year, because I think he is your most complete catcher. You don't really lose much with him back there defensively, and I think he's only going to get better there, and he is, outside of Travinsky, obviously, right now, but I kind of argue that even with Hayden in there, Neal might be your best option offensively. To see him have the night he had tonight was great. It was in a 1-0 count, and I mean, again, it was a no-doubter. I mean, you go back and watch it, he knew it was gone. He posed at the plate and everything, gave it a little pimp job. And Melvin would follow up by walking Jared Jones. Again, right there, Neal, that's 2 runs with 2 outs. Walk to Jared Jones, single by Mac Bingham, a walk to Michael Braswell. Thought Braswell had another really, really good night at the plate for LSU. Excuse me, love seeing that. And after the walk, that ended Melvin's night. They go get Mauricio Rodriguez. Fantastic name. I think we need more Mauricios in the world. That's just elite. And he promptly hits Paxton Kling with his first pitch of the night with the bases loaded. So that's an RBI, another 2-out run. Milam follows with a single, another RBI, another 2-out run. And then Tommy White, who started this inning with the flyout, comes up and rockets one up the middle for a 2-out 2 RBI single on the first pitch. Made it 9-0. Pearson would pop out to end the takes a firm lead that they would never relinquish the rest of the night, obviously. I do want to talk about the bottom of the 3rd because I thought Kade Anderson handled it great because he got shafted by his defense. There is no other way to put it. And this is where I really want to hone in a little bit more on Kade Anderson before we get into a one more big inning for LSU. And then I want to say a couple words on a few pitchers, and then we'll probably kind of wrap this thing up. And you know what? I might take some questions from the chat. So get them in there if you do have them. I see all y'all popping up on the screen and whatnot. And I love the interaction, of course. And I always say open door policy for questions. It's like your professors back in college, right? Open door policy for office hours here on Musso at the Box. In the bottom of the third, you get a quick out in the 8-hole there from quick out in the 8-hole from Anderson. Beautifully done. It was a tapper actually right back to him. 1-3 put out. And then unfortunately he hits Rank in an 0-1 count. And then McDonald reaches on you get a single, you hit Rank, so you have runners at first and second. Then you have the drop fly ball, Pearson in the outfield, so E9, but you end up getting the out at second, kind of on a fielder's choice type deal. That was huge. Then Pierce Gallo comes in. That's Gallo, not Callow. He reaches on an error from Stephen Milam. Milam made a great play to get to the ball, ranging to his left in the 3-4 hole there. It looked like he had time, quite honestly, to make a better throw. He rushed it a little bit. Bear couldn't scoop it over at first, and that allowed a run to score and Gallo to reach on the error. And then Becker comes up, their leading hitter. We talked about him. Single, 2 RBI. That scores a couple more unearned runs. And if I'm glossing over it, that was another defensive misstep. Major defensive misstep, actually. Miscommunication between Bingham and White on a shallow fly ball into left field. The wind was wild. It was messing with everything from the cameras to the outfielders on Wednesday night in South Maine there. But it looked like, and even on the replay, it looked like Bingham had called off Tommy White. Because White's going back on the ball, he stops and turns and looks at Mac Bingham while Bingham pulls up too, and the ball drops right in front of him. So that should have been out. So you should have had a fly ball out to Pearson in right field. It was dropped. It looked like he dropped it he didn't complete the catch, but to me, it kind of looked like he was already reaching in his glove, trying to prevent the guy from tagging up who was at second base. Pearson's a much more sure-handed outfielder than that to completely just drop a fly. But that we know Josh Pearson's better than that. That probably won't happen again. Then you have the rush throw by Milam. Great play to get to it, but a freshman, understood. And then the miscommunication. That's the worst defense that LSU has played all year. They came into this game fielding something like 986. Forgive me, I don't have the stats in front of me. I left it on my desk in the studio. But they came in fielding something like 986. It was just unfortunate. Credit, though, major credit to Kade Anderson, because all three of those things happened in a row. The E9, the E4, and the drop pop-up in between White and Bingham. And he comes out and gets Manny Garza, strikeout, massive. Ends the inning, ends the threat. So, a quiet fourth inning, obviously, for both teams. LSU would add a couple more runs in the fifth. They manufactured them beautifully. A pair of sac flies by Kling and by Milam. Love that from the top of the order. Paxton Kling was phenomenal. Say a few words on him as well before we get out. In the sixth inning, actually, I don't want to gloss over either with Kade Anderson. The bounce back after that inning in the third dominates the fourth as well, striking out 2 in a 3-up, 3-down inning. Dominates the fifth as well, 3-up, 3-down, striking out 1. So after everything goes wrong for him, he gets shafted like that in the third. Great maturity from the freshman right here, in all honesty. After everything goes wrong for him there in the third inning, he responds after those 3 straight errors by retiring 7. He retired 7 in a row to end his outing. That is big league stuff from a true freshman who missed his senior year of high school recovering from Tommy John. I came away so impressed with Kade Anderson tonight, y'all. I mean, I already saw a question pop up in the chat. How do you keep him out of the weekend rotation this year? I don't want to jump the gun because I think Thatcher Hurd's going to figure this out and be really good wherever you want to place him in the rotation. Luke Holman has looked like a stud so far early in this season. And then, I mean, Gage Jump is going to be in this rotation, I do believe, at some point. I don't know if there's a spot for Kade Anderson right now. That might be the only way you do keep him out of the rotation. But having him as a midweek guy or as a potential long relief bullpen guy on the weekend, I think is a big positive for this team. And let's not forget, you also have Javen Coleman, who can start. Like, LSU has 5 reasonable options that you feel great about for starting pitchers on this baseball team. Let's talk about the top of the 6th here momentarily. Actually, I don't want to talk about that. I was thinking of the top of the 7th. That's my mistake. Well, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because I do want to mention Sam Dutton. So let me talk about the 6th. The bottom of the 6th. DJ Primo comes in. He just didn't have his best stuff. I think he's pitched very well so far this year. He finally ran into a rough outing, allowed a run to come in. That made it 11-4. And Sam Dutton comes in with 2 runners on and 1 out in that inning. And this is yet again another tough spot that they've put Sam Dutton in. That's really how they've been using him, and I like that an awful lot because we've talked. He can be great in those 1-inning spurts, and he comes in out of the bullpen, and he throws strikes. That is what you want. And this year, the strikes have been a little bit more quality than maybe they were at times last year, which really led to his struggles. But he comes in, gets Max Johnson, a pinch hitter, not that Max Johnson, different Max Johnson entirely, gets him out 4-3. The runner does advance, and then Cumming comes up to the plate, and you get the fly out. That was massive for Dutton to strand those runs. The outcome of the game was not in doubt in that part. Don't misunderstand. Like, I understand that. The outcome of the ball game, not in question. LSU was up 11-4. But it's just, it shows the moxie from Sam Dutton, and I like that a lot. And I liked even more the fact that he made it through the 7th inning unscathed as well. Really big night for him. A couple strikeouts in the 7th for Dutton. That was huge. And in the top of the 7th, LSU really iced the ball game. Braswell struck out looking to lead off. That was unfortunate. You had Kling walk and steal a base. Milam struck out, but that's okay. It set LSU up for the stage they love in this game. 2-out magic, and Tommy White delivers. That was one of the most insane displays of power that didn't leave the yard for a home run, what Tommy White did in the 7th inning, where he just sticks his bat out and pokes a pitch up in the zone. He didn't even fully swing. Check swing, pokes it, fly ball to deep right field, about to the warning track. The wind kind of plays some havoc with it. The right fielder loses it. It bounces and goes over the wall for a ground rule double. But y'all, Tommy White hit a baseball. I looked up the dimensions of Reckling Park before this game. I think it's 330 or 335 down the line. Tommy White check swinged the ball probably about 300 feet to right field, and I actually might be shortchanging him a little bit there. It might have been closer to 310, 315. That's just freakish. Like, that is freakish stuff from Tommy Tanks. And from there, LSU was off and running. A walk to Pearson, Travinsky with the RBI single, and then Brady Neal. Y'all, again, another no-doubter. This one high off the scoreboard in right center field, and really punctuates it for LSU. That got them up 16-4. That was your winning margin. They threatened a little bit in the 8th, but didn't. Jay got a bunch of reserves in, which I loved. You got to see a lot of new guys. The last thing I'll really touch on, actually, from like the game itself, before just highlighting a few guys who I thought had really, really good nights, and then a few questions. The last thing I'll touch on is Nick Bronzini. Again, that was a really encouraging outing from Nick Bronzini. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, y'all, that he's ready to contribute for this team on a weekend or anything like that. He's not. He's still coming along. He's going to be in this kind of role midweek, probably late in the games. Let him get out there, get his feet wet. He was a very talented recruit that they got to campus. He redshirted last year because he just wasn't ready yet, and they're still bringing him along. But that was a really encouraging outing. 2 games in a row now for him to come in against Stony Brook on Sunday, get the last out of that ball game via strikeout, and then in this game, in the bottom of the 8th inning, lead it off with a walk when he was ahead 0-2 ahead 0-2 in the count, loses Duffield, and then gives up a single to Garza, again when he was ahead in the count, to then not allow a run to score, go strikeout, fly out, strikeout looking. That is a major step in the right direction for him, and I'm excited to continue to watch him grow and come along for LSU. He's not ready to contribute on a weekend or anything like that, but that was an encouraging outing for number 14. I really liked seeing that. So standouts, I've raved about Kade Anderson enough. Dutton was standout. We talked about him. I thought Paxton Kling had another great night. 3 RBI. The at-bats just continue to get better and better for Paxton Kling. And if you'll remember, this was about the time last year in the pre-conference when he started just going on this absolute tear, and it looked like you were never going to get him out of the lineup. You ended up going to A&M. He struggled. They came the back injury, and he just really, couldn't really get back in there. But this is, again, right around the time last year he started to heat up, and he's starting to heat up again right now. He had a whale of a weekend where he hit 666, and then followed that up with 3 more RBI tonight, a sac fly, a single. I thought Paxton Kling was great at the top of the order. That's my preferred spot to have him in. I loved this lineup tonight. Absolutely loved it. The only way you could have made this lineup any better is if you were allowed to bat 10 and put Jake Brown in it. That's it. Like, I hate having to have that kid on the bench, but man, I loved this lineup. Jay loves to alternate righty-lefty. He was able to do that as much as he could tonight because you don't have as many lefties in the lineup as you did last year, but with Milam being a switch hitter, he fits so good in that 2-hole. Man, it's like having 2 leadoff hitters with Kling batting from the right side, and you get Milam from the left side, who handles the bat well, has great speed, is a legit switch hitter. When you can get him lefty, that's huge. And then you follow that up with Tommy White, right-hander, back to Pearson, left-hander, Chervinsky, right-hander, Neal. I mean, through the first 5 or 6 in your order, you were able to alternate lefty-righty, and that's a strong bottom of the order any way you cut it when you have Jared Jones, Mac Bingham, who's sitting over 400 in your 8-hole, where he's going to get a bunch of fastballs. I love that. And then Braswell the last 2 nights, or the last 2 games, has really played well. He's swung the bat really well. I thought Braswell had a great day at the plate as well. Today, the strikeout looking in his last at bat was a bit of a bummer, but he drew some walks. He had a backside single in this one that scored a run. And then he came around to score. Kling had the fly in that inning that scored the first run. So I liked that. I want Jake Brown in there. I really do. I think he needs to be in there. I just don't know how you get him in there at this point without sitting somebody who also deserves to be in there. It's a great problem to have, but I loved this lineup, and I would not mind seeing them run it out there again. I don't think that Jay will. I think he's still going to figure things out, but file this one away because I really, really, really liked the composition of it and obviously liked the performance of it as well. I thought it was fantastic. Tommy White, thought he had a great night. Loved seeing the 3 RBIs come back. The rocket single up the middle. I mean, a 2-hit night for Tommy. He missed all of fall, and he still looks this good, y'all. He missed all of fall recovering from that shoulder. So he only had the spring. And I've told y'all when we were out there, or the winter, whatever you want to call it. I kind of prefer calling it the winter. And when I was out there, the first scrimmage I took in, Tommy White hit in every inning. Like for the team he was on, they just kept moving him in the lineup. He hit every inning. So we're trying to get him as many at-bats as they could. I thought he was fantastic as well. So, 2 out production stands out in this ball game, as does patience at the plate. 10 walks. LSU drew 10 walks tonight. Some of them were out of their control, where Rice was just a little wild. Some of them were really good takes and really good ABs, and then they were hit by 5 pitches. So you had the 15 free passes where it could look like you were handed gifts, but you also pounded out 11 hits in the ball game as well. Very, very balanced attack. Power from Neal. Manufacturing of runs from Kling and Milam there in that 5th inning. Just a very balanced offensive attack. I really have no complaints there for LSU. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get to y'all's chat. It's not letting me. I'm still learning this a little bit on my going live on my phone. All right. Well, I guess that's just about everything I had, guys. Great win for LSU tonight. Let's close it up by saying this. That's a solid first step on the road. Is a big crowd, but for a large majority of the night, it felt like an LSU crowd. We know very much the alumni base that is Houston, Texas for LSU, and they all showed out. And it's going to be great crowds this weekend in Houston. I can't wait, hopefully, to see a lot of you there. But massive win for LSU, and now you turn the page. I see chats popping up there asking about the starting pitcher against Texas. I'm hoping Jay Johnson will announce that. I don't know if he will, and quite honestly, I don't have even a great guess or any information right now on who they will start. Part of me wants to see Thatcher Hurd in that role. I do, because I want to see if the heightened competition have him rise to the occasion. We know he has it in him, and I want to see him kind of in that role, on that stage, and see what he can do. I'm not so much after the results of this week as I am learning more about the team, because this team does have question marks. They've looked very good so far. I mean, they're 8-1, but they do have question marks. I don't know. I would like to see Hurd there. I'd like to see Jump if it's not going to be Hurd, but they're still bringing Jump along so much. I don't know if that's really where they're looking to extend him. Maybe they do. I think it's one of them. What I don't think they do is move Luke Holman up. And I could be totally wrong, but they're so big on routine. They're so big on staying in routine. I think they leave Holman where he is, and I think that they should. So I think it's either Jump or Hurd. If I had to pick, y'all are gonna think I'm crazy for this, I would throw Thatcher Hurd out there for all the reasons that I just said, and maybe have Jump kind of first out of the bullpen to extend him that way. It's just one way you can do it. But look, that's what they're going to do. They're going to turn the page to Texas. We're going to have you covered on that right here on Musso at the Box. We're going to do more of this going live as well. Monitor my Twitter. I will absolutely have any information there for y'all about when, where we'll go live, in Houston for the Astros Classic and all of that. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. That is greatly appreciated. Also, follow me on Twitter at Musso Matthew, Facebook, Matt Musso. Subscribe to the podcast, your favorite podcast app. We're everywhere there as well. All of that greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in as well, and stick with us. We got plenty of coverage. If you want daily LSU baseball coverage, you want Musso at the Box. So I appreciate all of you for listening, and look forward to the next time. Hopefully, I'll have the live chat figured out a little bit better here on my phone, and we can get to a few more of the questions. I answered as many as I could as they popped up there. Rando, what was your question? Type it in real fast. And it'll pop up in front of me. Because I clicked on the little chat box and it wasn't working. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this like for the audio version of the podcast too, and people are going to be listening to this going, "What the hell is he talking about?" So that's my bad on that. But it's, I don't even know what time. Well, I'm not supposed to reference time on these things because they live forever. But who has the best offense in the SEC in your opinion? It's early. I haven't watched everybody yet. I haven't watched Florida. I know they're really good. Arkansas is really good, y'all. The Hogs are a problem. I mean, I think LSU's up there as well. I think Ole Miss has some hitters. They just have to kind of figure things out a little bit. I mean, look, South Carolina's still got Ethan Petrie and Gavin Casas. Shout out Tristan. So, I mean, there's, Alex Day, Tennessee. Yeah, I forgot about Tony V and the Bad Boys. Yeah, they can rake up there in Knoxville. It's a lot, man. It's going to be a very offensive league. It's deep pitching, too. I mean, LSU is one of the best rotations, but Arkansas's got a great one. Florida's got a great one. Vandy hadn't showed much for them yet, but they've got a great one. Like, The league's as deep as it's ever been this year. So come back to me on that one, Randall. Come back to me on that one a little bit later in the season, maybe right before conference play. Let me get some eyes on a few more teams. I've spent a lot of time on the weekend just thumbing through Watch ESPN, watching as much college baseball as I can. It's been fantastic. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up here for this. LSU beats Rice 16-4. They moved to 8-1. Next up on the docket, the Texas Longhorns and the Astros College Classic in Minute Maid Park. We'll have a full preview of that weekend coming up for you here on Musso at the Box. Whether it is the Texas game, the ULL game, the Texas State game, we'll have it all covered for you here. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. All that greatly appreciated. Subscribe on the podcast. All that greatly appreciated. And be here next time on Musso at the Box.